apps, and everybody's comes and sort of roasts the person who is the recipient this year. But the committee, primarily composed of Robert and myself, made a very strategic decision that we thought it was important to show the community support for an organization here in town that has, throughout the pandemic, has hung in there, worked really hard, and made it possible for people to not have to go out of town to go to the grocery store and do all that sort of stuff. So for that reason, we have the management from the IGA, who is here to be this year's recipient. So if the three of y'all will come up here. It's been a hard year, almost 2 years for everybody. But I'm sure these guys have some really funny stories to tell you about people's behavior during the pandemic, right? Wow. But, so this is for you all to have there, and we appreciate it very much. And everybody pretty much knows Clarence, because of course he's a member of this club. But if you would introduce the other two gentlemen.
This is Abraham Barrett. Everybody knows Abraham. Abraham's been with me since, what, 93? 93. Me and him been together. Mr. Tim Melvin. He's the co-manager. He's from Lumberton. He was telling me that what's the lady's name in that? Velma Barfield. Velma Barfield from Lumberton. It's inside the program.
Was his grandma, you said?
It probably is.
No, I remember when she was charged that they dug one of her husbands up, and he had the same poison as the other two.
Wow.
That's when they decided to.
But we appreciate the honor. It's been a task, it's been a job, it's been like having a hurricane for a year and a half.
Yeah.
It's been like a snowstorm year and a half. But we appreciate this, and Miss Patty was telling me to find something funny to say about it. I just couldn't find anything funny to say about it. Turnover, getting people to work. It's the worst I've seen probably in 35 years that I've been in the grocery business. Abraham, worst you've seen getting people to work was Tim.
Clarence, are you having problems finding product?
That too. When the pandemic first started, you know, paper was crazy. You know, you would have thought they were eating paper the way they were buying it. But still, it's not where it needs to be. We're probably about 80% capacity right now. So it's better than it was last year this time.
How has the public been to deal with during this?
They've been great. You know, Latta, we're a different breed of people here. So they've been easy. I don't know how Tim Dillon, but over here it was fine. Tim was in Dillon last year during this time.
I can elaborate on that if you want me to.
No,
I was Clarence's co-manager
before he went to Dillon.
Yeah. And I was not asked to go to Dillon. I was told to be in Dillon at 5 o'clock on Monday morning. And I thought I had gave up being store manager, but for a year and a half I did it. And it was,
How long have you been in grocery business?
45 years.
45 years.
Wow. But there's Latta and Dillon, there's 7.2 miles between the two IGAs. And there's a world of difference over here. I love Latta. I do not want to go back to Dillon.
But we appreciate y'all's honor and thinking of us. It has been a rough road, but it's been good though. It's been a learning experience. Yeah, we've made it. Well, it's still out there.
Well, they kept me in bacon when I couldn't get bacon anyplace else. They kept me in bacon.
Right.
So, man, when all that stuff started happening, it was crazy.
Yes,
It was
ma'am.
crazy. But we appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Thank
Can we all hear
This could be on the cover of a Latta Library calendar, but maybe not. Smile. Thank you.
Big deal.
Y'all want this or not? Slip that in or?
No, thank you.
Okay, all right.
Now we have Fred Ellis to speak for us this morning. He needs no introduction. I'm going to let him get started.
Well, I need to say a little something.
Oh, you're going to say a little.
Yeah, actually, this is,
You're cutting into his time, but it's all right.
I'm not going to cut much of it.
Oh, okay.
Because like he said, he don't need an introduction. I think he can call each one of you by name. But he is raised in Latta. He loves Latta very much, almost as much as I do probably. But he has been working for at least 2 years as the president of the Latta Library Foundation. And when we started off, we thought the county owned the Latta Library. It turns out that they did not. The foundation that started the library had been defunct since 1917. The library was built in 1914, but they just didn't do the necessary paperwork with the Secretary of State, so it just went to defunct. So we formed, Fred spearheaded the formation of the Latta Library Foundation, which is now owner of that building, and we're in the process of trying to do something with it. And since he is the president of the Latta Library Foundation, I will turn it over to Fred. And Fred, don't forget to talk loud, because some of them way back on.
Yeah, they'll be back there.
Right, let me get my paperwork here. Oh, on your way out, take a look. This is architect's proposed elevation of the addition. Here's in the corner is our existing library. And floor plan, here's all of this is the to be the addition. So let me get this out. Everybody knew Yolanda. Everybody knows about the tragedy of Yolanda. That's, I guess, the biggest problem that we're going to have to deal with is the renovation committee, or as we call it now, the foundation. So Yolanda had written, it's just a one-page thing here to be maybe a press release a while back. This is about 2 years old. I'll read it quickly for you. It says, this is by Yolanda, it says, background of the Latta Library. The oldest library in Dillon County stood for more than 107 years, finished completion in 1914 by securing, with the help of H.A. Bethea, who was a banker, a $5,000 grant from Carnegie Foundation. Mr. Carl Bass donated the land. Reverend W.C. Allen, who was pastor at Latta Baptist at that time, was local mover and shaker and provided necessary leadership for a successful outcome. And it remains the cornerstone of downtown Latta and a source of pride for our citizens. You know. In 1997, it gets started. The library receives a call from an attorney in Atlanta saying a native son's writing his will, wants to include his hometown library. The library was where he had fond memories from boyhood, and the attorney asks, and this is Yolanda taking the call, if the Latta Library is included in an estate, could proceeds be specified solely for the Latta Library? Would the bequest be used only for Latta Library? So there was some concerns. So she assured the caller that if his bequest was for Latta, then it would not be used in any other library in the county. Thus assured, the caller tells her that one day a substantial amount should be coming. The benefactor became known when on July 6th of 17, Dr. Francis Marion McMillan III, Frank to his friends, passed away and bequeathed Latta Library more than $2 million. Right now it's about 2.6. The money is to be used to add to or renovate the building so that a reading room with room space for children and adolescents. You can't have them both together. Can be added. Also, he wants an entrance lobby large enough to hang oil paintings that he left us of him, pictures of his family, over 75 pictures. There's watercolors, photos, portraits that tell the story of his family, and tell the story of his life. And we will be displaying all of those through the building, which will bear his name, named for him, for his memory. Now, the big obstacle is where we're going to expand. Because you got Percy Brickman's house on one side, we got the house Johnny Hartley lived in on the other side. He was there forever. So we're thinking, well, according to the will, a new library could be constructed if problems, overwhelming problems. But nobody wanted to lose the Carnegie Library that's here now. It's one of only 4 Carnegie libraries left in the state. Now, this is Yolanda speaking, says, when the wishes for our library seemed hopeless, a local historian and attorney, Mr. LaFawn Leggett Jr., offered to donate his property that sits just north of the library. Mr. DeWitt Coleman, the owner of the property just north of Attorney Leggett's lot, offered his property to the library for the price of, and this is what it was appraised for at the time, $22,000. So without the generosity of Mr. LaFawn Leggett's donation, the entire project of an addition would not be possible. So clearly this means a great deal to the people of Latta, and they are putting forth every effort to carry out Dr. McMillan's wishes. So it sounds like the start of something good, huh? All right, well, I'm here to tell the rest of the story and check my time. All right. So who's on the committee? Well, I'm on there. LaFawn's the vice president. LaFawn got a house mover to move the house, and he acquired a lot to place the said house. DeWitt's on the committee. He got his brother John D. on board with the plan, and they got David McLaurin over here to get us a good professional appraisal of their property. Harold's our treasurer, and he set up our financial books software. He receives monies, he pays our bills, and he fields questions about what's going on money-wise, the questions that we get from the attorneys that are now involved. Yolanda, Vicki Graham, and Gail Coleman, Tommy's wife, Vicki and Gail are our Latta representatives on the board of directors for the county library board. And of course, Yolanda was the chief head librarian for the county. They came up with a business plan. They put together a list of must change and a list of must-haves for both the old building and the proposed addition. Dorothy Gaddy Bethay from Latta is our secretary, and she's recorded everything. She types it up. She disseminates it to all the members. She has begun an archive for us. I had William Hayes come survey all 3 properties for us and then do a combined plat. Brought Michael Medlin in to inspect the HVAC in the old building, see what could be done so that we get another Hurricane Matthew type of flood, that our equipment won't be lost and have to be replaced. Got letterhead stationery, for our correspondence, that has to be done that way rather than electronically. And our group started interviewing architects from 3 different regions of South Carolina. Wound up with Danny Shelley. Danny, I guess he's outlived the others, but he has the most library experience right now of any living architect in the state. And he's emotionally involved because he's from Latta. So, but he actually had unique ideas how to best do this in accordance with McMillan's will. So we're thinking, well, we've about got this ready to roll, and I'm thinking I don't have to deal with this anymore. So we have a big meeting with Wells Fargo, their trust department's attorney, because he's over in Georgia. So it was a Zoom meeting, COVID starting to come on. When we show them all our progress and our readiness, we're ready to sign a contract with Danny. We're ready to advertise for bids. And they say, their lawyers say, no. And they claim that McMillan, this is even back in '97, that he worried about alleged diverted monies that were rumored to have happened on past county projects. And they did not want the money going through, absolutely not going through the county council. So I said, well, what about if we send it through the town? What about if maybe the state could handle it? And all this sounded like it was getting even more problematic. So we got to thinking that the independent approach might be better, an independent nonprofit. This is what Dr. Kirby had done with the Ellis Performing Arts Center. Take the building here, as LaFawn said, it was never deeded to the county in the 70s to make library services available for all people. The legislature had each county set up a board of directors to operate any and all libraries in their county. And we're not the only library that is not owned by the county, but is run by a county. I don't mean not by Dillon County, but in South Carolina there are other library buildings that aren't owned by their county's board. So they seem to like that idea. Now, Harold and LaFawn got busy and they set up a nonprofit corporation. But then the Secretary of State's office has to clear this. Nobody's in there for months. They've all gone home because of the COVID scare. And Harold had the same problem when he's getting up with the IRS trying to get our nonprofit status. But it eventually happened. And in the meantime, we obtained quit claim deeds. We got one from the town of Latta, Dillon County, and the school board. What financed the Latta Library for 70 years or something was in the Latta School District, 1 mil was added to the property tax. Property is in the Latta School District. That went to support the Latta Library. And also remember, for a while, Latta Library was the biggest library in Dillon County. Remember Dunbar over in Dillon? And, trying to think of the one in Lakeview. Now, we also got options executed for properties that we want to buy here to expand. And Danny, he starts drawing the preliminary work and everything that you can see over there. In fact, we went ahead and executed a contract, architect contract with Danny. So now we're thinking, well, we finally got it where Wells Fargo's people want it. And so we send them all of everything that we've talked about here. And we demand approval, we demand the money, we demand to know the name and the contact information of the trustee over their trust department in Atlanta that is going to deal with McMillan's trust. Because we don't want everything going through some third party, in this case, their attorney, not ours. So their attorney sends me an email saying, well, my work is now done, and Mrs. Falk, she's a PR person that does work for Wells's trust department. She the first of the week is gonna call you and give you the name and the contact information of the trustee. First of the week, well, that's like 3 days later. I get nothing a week, nothing, 2 weeks, nothing, 3 weeks. And I'm calling and I'm emailing and I'm getting nothing. So I've been in business a long time. Well, since the early 70s, and I know the only way you can get somebody else to do what you want is if you can show them what's in it for them, or you can make it. We're talking lawsuits here, you know. So I've always been grateful for my attorneys at any rate. So Hart will do, that's Miss Eleanor's younger brother. He's a successful Atlanta businessman. So we go to Hartwell and we say, we need a really good law firm. So he's got to have 180 attorneys. Oh, that's pretty crazy. What's the attorney's prayer? Lord, stir up much strife amongst thy people, lest thy servant perish. And is that it? That's it, I believe it. I think Glenn's heard that one. All right. But anyway, and it says on everything they send out, emails and on the letter, they just got last year's award for the best litigation firm in Georgia. So we have a regular attorney, it's kind of a soft-spoken guy that wants to solve it that way first. And then, but he's partnered with a litigator who we've spoken with him too, and he kind of used to phone like this. He's kind of an attack dog. But we're working with the nice guy for right now. So they make contact with Wells's attorneys, and Wells's attorney suddenly hasn't got his job done yet, apparently. And he comes back to life. So now, finally, it looks like things are headed our way. All we still lack that they want is a figure of what the remaining money is, because it's not going to take $2.5 million to do this. We're talking 4,500 square feet here. The remaining money is what we're going to do with them, how much for annual maintenance, and also furniture, furnishings, and equipment. So far, the list I've received from Tommy Stevens' office, and Christina, she is who's taken Yolanda's place over there. She was the assistant county head librarian. Tommy Stevens is the chairman of our county library board. $156,000. It's detailed list, yay long. I got that for them. And of course, the first number they want, which Danny Shelley's supposed to have for me this week, which is roughly what's it going to take for the construction. You know, they want a little bit of a breakdown, like engineering, so we'll get that for them. That's where we are now. Any questions about any of this so far, or where we're going with this?
Don't you think, Fred, that every time we jump through the hoop that they ask us to jump through, they move the goalpost and there's something else that we need to do?
That's what they're doing. It's very clear, very obvious that they don't want to part with the money. We know that Wells has had a lot of legal problems lately, and they've been fined maybe a total of $1 billion by OCC, Office of, what's that, Currency and Comptroller, or Comptroller and Currency, one of the two, yeah. That they supervise banks.
Some of those Wells Fargo officers have gone to jail, haven't they?
I don't know if any of them going to jail, because I don't know any of them personally, especially if they go into jail.
At the time that they disperse the money, you jump through every hoop.
Right.
Will you be able to take ownership of the entire amount, or are they going to parcel it out and it'll forever have portions still in Wells Fargo?
What they want to do is, we'll sign the contract, the foundation, Latta Library Foundation sign a contract with the winning bid contractor. All right. And they will parcel it out to us to pass on to the contractor based on, like, from the foundation and so forth, you know, on up to the roof. Electrical.
So you got no way of ever getting rid of Wells Fargo in this thing?
And they don't want to ever be rid of this. Say, what if it takes $1.5 million or 1.65 or whatever for the addition? Well, it still leaves $1 million in there. And we're going to use close to 200 to furniture and furnishings, all that.
Fred, I think if we spend it down far enough where it's not worth their while, in the fees that they make, they might be willing to resign. If they're not making any money on it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's because it's $30,000 a year they're making now, at least. In fees of managing the courts.
So the will didn't have any provision for anyone other than Wells Fargo to be the trustee of this?
No.
That was it?
That's it. The will says to construct or add on or build a new library or whatever's needed, so as to get that reading room for children and adolescents and an entrance lobby large enough to display all of these paintings, photos, etc. That's what the will says. It also says the remainder of the monies after this is accomplished are to be used for ongoing purchase of needed materials and maintenance. Now, when he says needed materials, you got to remember when this will was written. He actually says things like records and tapes.
Right. Things that don't exist anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Fred, are y'all making plans for contingency funds with prices going up? Are you making arrangements for construction funds? Cash flow will be an issue when contractors want their money, and so is there going to be cash flow issues? Some things in the building process that you have to consider too.
Oh, yeah.
If they're fighting you like this, they may fight you on checks in the mail mentality for months.
I don't think they'll do that. I think one thing they're doing is our attorneys met, well, this is a group phone call with Assistant Attorney General in the state of Georgia, along with their attorney, to talk about a Cypre agreement there. So, but then again, we can't have any agreement that's written by their attorney. Okay. Anything else?
When's the house moving?
Where is that house? I saw some rollers out there Saturday.
Well, the first guy, his name was Joe Bauer.
Not this show, Bob.
No, not that Joe. I called him and asked Joe to answer the phone.
Only twice.
Only twice. Anyway, I contracted with one, Joe Bauer's family, that had moved many buildings in the past. And he just didn't get this done. This was in February of this year. So I more or less fired him since he put some steel there, but then he took it back 2 days later. But anyway, I got a fellow out of Fairmont, I believe it is. Tabor City. Excuse me.
Razor City.
Razor City.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Rough up there.
He brought the steel this past week and also the wheels he saw. So I hope that he'll get it in the next 2 weeks, but you never know.
Yep. Anything else? So, where we got variances from the town of Latta's council meeting, and they said, well, when are we going to see this starting to come out of the ground, And Danny said, you're not going to see this for a long time. Because Danny Shelley knew that there was still a whole lot to get ironed out. So that's what we're doing right now. But to ask that same question now, I would tell you by the end of next summer, I think we might see something coming out of the ground actually then. All right. Thank you.
That was insightful and the way things go in the big banking world. Okay. Anything else for the good of Rotary? Stand adjourned.